Hello and welcome back to the channel. I'm Tim and today I'm starting a playthrough of Gloomhaven Buttons and Bugs. So I got this in the other day from the Kickstarter campaign or GameFound or whatever it was on. Also have Gloomhaven 2nd edition coming as well. That won't be until I think wave 3 maybe. This was in the first wave of products from the the funding campaign. So let's go ahead and jump into things here. So I have it kind of set up here, ready for the first scenario, just to kind of go over some of the components. It comes with, I think it's either 5 or 6 different heroes that you can play. They recommend starting with the Bruiser. So that's what I'll be playing for this initial playthrough. It's got your hero card here. Those who are familiar with Gloomhaven, this probably looks pretty familiar. You got your maximum hit points for your different levels that your character will be at. Placed for your items. Active slot for cards that have currently active effects, and then discard pile over here, and cards that have been lost over on the right. This is our health tracker. They've got these little double-sided dials. They're sometimes kind of hard to turn. For tracking your health, they go up from I think 1 to 9 on the one side, and then you flip it over for 10 through whatever. So our Bruiser starts at 12 health at level 1. I've got the enemies set up, although we haven't gotten that far yet, but I know what's coming because I've already played this first scenario through once just to kind of get familiar with it. We're going to play it again here on the channel. We've got our starting hand of cards. Now the way the cards work in this one is a little bit different. So you start with, you only ever have 4 cards, but they're double-sided. So there's an A side and a B side. And the way it works is once you play a card, if it's on its A side, then it flips to the B side and they come back into your hand. And then once you play them and they're on their B side, that's when they get discarded. So effectively you have 8 cards if you play them right. I found out you can get into trouble if you play an A and a B at the same time, because then things get kind of out of kilter and you end up with just 1 card left at the end. And so then you end up having to rest with only 1 while you still have a card left. So probably play that a little bit different this time. Try to always play 2 A's or 2 B's together. I think that's the most efficient way to play those cards. But they're just like, again, if you're familiar with Gloomhaven, they've got the top half and bottom half of each card. You're going to choose 2 cards on your turn. And you'll do the top half of one card and the bottom half of the other card. Each of them also has a default action of either 2 attack or 2 move. That you can use. They have the area attacks just like in the regular game here, and then different sorts of buffs. This is a push 2, strengthen self, that sort of thing. It does come with a little handy icon reference. Explains what all the different icons on the cards mean, and so that we'll be referring to that. I'm not sure about anything as we go along. I haven't actually played Gloomhaven itself. I've played several scenarios of Jaws of the Lion, so I am somewhat familiar with how to play. But this does have a few things that aren't in Jaws of the Lion. Like I don't think there's an invisible status. And Pierce I don't think exists in Jaws of the Lion. A couple other things. Retaliate. I think that's new for me anyway. All right. And then this is our attack modifier tray. So the way they implemented the modifier cards is instead of having a deck of cards that you flip, you have this chart basically. And this cube over here is used to track which row you're currently on. Every time you make an attack, it moves down a row. So you kind of know what your possibilities are every time you make an attack, which is kind of neat. But whenever you do make an attack, you roll this die, which has 2 pluses, 2 minuses, and 2 zeros on it. And then whatever you get, you use the corresponding column for your attack modifier. So the middle is always +0. And then on the right side, if you get the plus, you're either going to get your +1s, +2s, or 2 times. And then the minus gives you your negatives or possibly the null. And then you'll notice this has the 1 in the crown here. So this is the chart for level 1. It's actually pre-printed on the tray itself. And then as you level up, there are cards then that slot in here with upgraded charts as you go through the different levels. I think you can go up to level 5, yeah. 5 is the max level. So yeah, just every time you attack, then you'll move this down. So your next attack will use the next row. When it gets to the bottom, you just move it back to the top after your next attack. So that's kind of slick. Same thing for the monsters, for their modifiers. And notice this has a bit of a crease in it here. I've contacted Cephalofair, or Cephalofair, however you pronounce their company name, about getting a replacement for that. Also, one of my, I'll show it here in a second, I had another component that was damaged as well. But this works the same way for the monsters. They all share the same one. And then you'll notice this says standard. There are other cards that you can slot in here for varying difficulty levels. I think there's an easy, there's like very easy, easy, standard, hard, and very hard, I think, are the 5 difficulty levels. So if things are seeming a little bit too easy for you, you can crank it up, make it a little more difficult, or vice versa. This tray here is used for your different monsters for the scenario. It comes with 4 of these, so you can have up to 4 different monster types in a given scenario. The first one only uses the one here, the bandit guards. So the way this works, and this uses the same die as well, this is used to determine, instead of their monster cards that they have to determine like what their initiative is and what they're going to do for the turn, you roll this die, and then whatever result you get, you move this to that corresponding slot, and that determines the initiative and the actions that monster type will take for the turn. So again, pretty innovative little mechanism there for implementing that with very minimal components. And then you have, again, health dials for excuse me, the different monsters, and there's 4 of these dials, so you can have up to 4 monsters in a given scenario. So it could be 4 of all the same type, or it could be 4 different types, only 1 of each, or kind of any combination in between. They use these little colored cubes then to indicate the monsters. We'll see how that works once we get to the actual map for the first scenario. And it comes with some status tokens, just like in the regular game, although they're a little bit smaller. So muddled, poison, etc. So I'm sure we'll have a chance to come use those. This is a little learn to play book that comes in the box. It goes over most of the rules, definitely enough to play through the first scenario. But then you'll notice here at the back, there's some other concepts that are not covered in this booklet that you'll need to go online. You can scan the QR code here to go online to read the full rules, and they'll talk about items, recovering, all that kind of stuff. So no items for this first scenario. They don't come into play until scenario 2, so we won't have to worry about those yet. But yeah, elements, I'll mention this. They work a little bit different in this one. Since there's no like board for tracking, that they're strong, waning, inert, or whatever the 3 different levels are. In this one, basically, some of the cards will have, you'll notice on this one, so this card infuses wind, and then the back of one of these has a skill, right here, that you can consume wind then to give +1 attack and pierce 2. But the way the element infusion works for this one is, as long as you have a card in your hand on the appropriate side, like if this was on the B side, then now it's infusing earth instead of wind. But as long as it's either in your hand or in play, like one of the cards that you just played, then that element is considered to be infused and it's available to be consumed for an ability. So that's kind of cool too. All right, so let's get everything back to where it should be here. And I think we're ready to go ahead and start. So this is the scenario deck. Actually, it's more than the scenario deck. This is also the other heroes. I can show you these real quick. So it also has the Cragheart, the Spellweaver, the Tinkerer, the Mind Thief, and the Silent Knife. So, and I should point out on the back then is it gives kind of a complexity rating for that class, a little bit of description of them, and then here's where it lists your level 1 ability cards and then level 2 ability cards. So the way the abilities level up in this one is whenever you get to, and you kind of automatically level up, like when the scenario will say this is level 2, so you automatically be level 2 for that scenario. And basically, whatever level you are above 1, you get to trade out one of your level 1 cards for a level 2 card. And you can change it up between scenarios. Like say, when we get to the first time we do a level 2 scenario, I might decide I want to switch out Smoke Bomb for Long Con and then use these 3 level 1s and that level 2 card. Well, then the next level 2 scenario we play, I might decide, well, I want Smoke Bomb for this one, and I'll switch out Venom Shiv for Watch It Burn instead. And then once you get to a level 3 scenario, you can level up 2 of your cards and so on and so forth. So that's how the abilities work with your character level. All right, so let's go ahead and get the box out of the way for now. Tip this down a little farther so we get more of an overhead view here. And we will get started. I can get all this in the shot. All right. We'll work on that a little bit. So the first thing you do, you flip over the top card of the scenario deck. And the first card is That Shrinking Feeling. What a time for Gloomhaven. First, a black tornado from the void nearly destroyed the city. Then there were reports of the very essence of corruption trying to end everything. But all's well that ends well. And at the center of both events, Hale, a mysterious Aster who lives in a derelict tavern, the Crooked Bone. It is said she can turn anyone into a hero, exactly what you want to be. Sure, you don't have a lot of training, but put in front of the right adventure, you'd get the acclaim that is due to you. So with that bold purpose, you step across the threshold of the Crooked Bone and... No, that's not right. Everything is growing. Why is the doorway so large? Why are you so small? Is this some sort of Aether enchantment? You've been shrunk. And then we're directed to play Scenario 1, A Rude Welcome. You'll notice on the top and bottom of these cards are your items. So we'll get to how those work once we get past this first scenario. All right, so we'll go to the next card, which is A Rude Welcome. Here it says what level it is. This is a level 1 scenario. So we just use all of our level 1 cards, and our max hit points for this will be 12. And we use our level 1 modifier tray. All right. You got some fancy gear there. You whirl around, taking in your familiar yet unfamiliar surroundings. Your attention settles on a scruffy character behind you, luckily on par with your diminutive stature. Nice and shiny, like it's never been used. Hand it all over and I'll let you live. Well, that simply won't do. Your gear is unused, but there's really only one solution for that. So the monsters are bandit guards, and our goal is defeat all monsters. And so you read everything up to this green band before you start the scenario. And then once you complete the scenario, assuming you're successful, then you read what's below the green band here. So, and to play the scenario, you just flip this card over and voila, there is our game board or our map. So we'll get this deck out of the way for now. Put that right there. So you'll notice a few things on here. This is the starting space for your hero. Anything with a green outline are obstacles. So you can't move through those, but they do not block line of sight. The red hexes are traps, or I forget what they call them exactly. But basically, if you move into or through that space, you're going to take 1 damage. Or if the monsters do, or you push them or pull them through those spaces, then they'll take 1 damage. And then these are the spots. The white hexes are where the monsters start. You'll notice they're numbered, so that will correspond to their number dial. So this one will be keeping track of the monster number 1, and this dial will be keeping track of monster number 2. And then you'll notice the number is in a colored circle, so that dictates which colored cube you use to represent that monster. So let's get this all set up here. So we've got I can get this warp out of here a little bit. Okay, we've got green cube there, blue cube there, and then us here. All right, and you'll notice on the bandit guards, their starting health is 8. So we've got their dials both set to 8. And they also have 1 shield. And then this symbol means that's an ability that's in effect until the end of the scenario. You'll notice if they get their minus ability, they get a second shield for that round. So they'll actually have 2 shield then if they roll that for their action. All right. I think we got everything in the shot here pretty well. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So we will pick 2 of these cards to use for our first turn. So I think we've got, so we're 2 spaces away from the green monster, and we're 3 spaces away from the blue monster. So this would give us a move 3 and that means with jump. So you can move over obstacles and or enemies and or traps. This one gives us 2 shield, but you'll notice that becomes active and then stays active until the end of the scenario. So you're basically without this card then for the rest of the scenario. So that's not a good one to play right off the bat, which I found out when I attempted to play scenario 2. This is nice. We have an attack on the bottom. Usually the bottom is just movement. So having a bottom attack is always nice. If you're already adjacent to something, you can do 2 attacks. 3 attack with a shield, and that shield lasts until the end of the round, so that's not bad. And then we do have, this means it's a ranged attack, and the range is up to 3 hexes away. So we could open up with that if we wanted to do a ranged attack right off the bat, but I think we might as well move up next to this blue guy. That way the yellow or the green one isn't going to be able to reach us on the first turn. So we'll move up by him. And or the other thing is we do have a push. Maybe we move down here actually. We can attack this one and then push him into that trap. And plus that would then strengthen us for the next turn. Yeah, so let's play Warding Strength for the top half. And then we'll use, we don't really need a move. Oh yeah, we do, because we're 2 away. So we need something that lets us move at least 2. So we don't really need to jump. But I'd kind of like to save this attack for later. So let's go ahead and do the Leaping Cleave as our second card. So now that we've chosen our 2 cards, we have to decide what we want our initiative to be. So this number in the middle is going to dictate our initiative. So if we play them like this, our initiative will be 32. If we play them like this, our initiative will be 54. And it doesn't matter which one you pick for the initiative in terms of which order you do the actions in. You can still do them in either order. So if we look at the enemies, they have a possibility of being either 30, 50, or 70. So we definitely like to go before them if we can. So we're going to play 32 as our initiative, which makes, unless they roll the minus, then we will go ahead of them. So that will be our played cards for this turn. So let's see what they end up being. So we'll roll this die. And we got the minus, so they are going to go before us, unfortunately. So this is going to kind of mess with our plan a little bit. Well, maybe not. I think we might be able to push the... No, he's only going to move 2. Yeah, it kind of messed up our plan. Oh, well. All right, so, and then the enemies act in numerical order. So number 1 will go first, and then number 2. So they are moving 2 and then attacking for 1, and they have their extra shield this turn. So they actually have 2 shields. So the green one, they're going to move to try to get adjacent to us so that they can attack us using the shortest path possible that doesn't go through any hazards. So they're going to go 1, 2 to there. And then they will attack us for 1. And then we have to roll the modifier die again to see how that attack gets modified. And they roll a 0, so it's a +0 attack, or +0 modifier. We'll move this down. So it is just a 1 attack, and we have no shields, so we take 1 damage. We're down to 11 health. Then the blue one is going to go. So they're just going to try to get as close to us as they can. Since they can't actually get to us, they'll still move to try to get as close as they can. So they will move to there. The only exception to that is if there's no path where they could possibly get to us, then they won't move at all. But in this case, they do have a path to us. They just don't have enough movement to get all the way there. All right, so that's going to conclude their turn. So now it's our turn. So we have our leaping cleave and our warding strength. And we need to decide. Now, we had originally intended on doing them this way. You can, once, if the situation changes, you may end up deciding, no, I want to do these instead. But again, we're not going to do that because that means we'd lose this card for the remainder of the scenario. Wouldn't really lose it, but it'd be unavailable to us because it'd be sitting in our active slot. So we've got our move 3 with jump. So actually, maybe we can do this still. So if we move, we can move, since we have jump, we can move over them. So we can go 1, 2, 3, spin around. And then, yeah, we'll be able to attack them and then push them into that trap. So we'll do that next. So we have an attack 3. So again, we roll to see how that gets modified. And we got the 0, so it's a +0. So it's attack 3. Unfortunately, they have 2 shields. This is the number 2 bandit. So he only takes 1 damage. But then we push 2. You can push, and in this one, the push and the pull are, well, it doesn't say it on here, but in the Learn to Play, it says that you can push them or pull them up to that amount. So you don't have to push them the full amount. I think in the original Gloomhaven rules, you had to push or pull them the full amount. But Jaws of the Lion changed that. I believe Frosthaven changed it. And I think it's going to be changed in Gloomhaven's 2nd edition as well. So yeah, push allows you to move the target a number of spaces up to the push value. So we could push them to, either way they would get damaged. So we'll push them here for sure. They take 1 damage from the trap. The shield doesn't protect from trap damage. It's only from damage while being attacked. And then, do we want to push them a 2nd space away? I guess if we do, there's a chance that they might not be able to get back to us next turn. So yeah, let's go ahead and do that. We'll go ahead and push them to here. And the other thing about push, and then pulls the opposite, is each hex that you push them has to put them further away from you. So like, for example, I couldn't push them here and then here, because that doesn't put them any farther away from us. They're still only 2 hexes away. And of course, obviously, you couldn't push them back here either. So each space of the push has to put them further from you. And then pull is the same way. Each space that you pull them has to bring them closer to you. All right. So that's our turn. So these flip to their B side now, since they were on their A side, and they go back into our hand. And then that's going to conclude the turn. Oh, and we almost forgot. I have a hard time remembering this sometimes, moving that down every time you attack. All right, so the next time we have a chance of possibly having a +2 to our attack. All right, so we'll go to the next round. So we will need to pick our 2 cards to use this time. And again, it's more efficient if you use 2 of the same letter. So I should either use these 2, which heal 2 and then attack for 4. Wouldn't be too bad, I guess, but then I would have to rely on them moving next to me, and there's a possibility they might not be able to. I think we're probably better off, because then the other option is this is one that goes into your active slot till the end of the scenario, so it's a little bit too early to be using that one. So I think we'll just go ahead and play our other 2 A cards this turn. So we can, and again, we could use these 2, but then we've got no move. Well, we could, I guess, use the default movement always. I didn't think about that over here as well. We could use the default movement of 2 and then do the 4 attack. That might not be bad. Because here we could do a move 4 and then attack 3 at range 3. We could do that to kind of just keep away from them, I guess. If we wanted to stay out of range of them being able to attack us. Because if we were, well, we have to be within 3 range, so there's still a chance, a good chance that they'd still be able to get to us even with that. Although we could do the attack first and then move away. Yeah, why don't we do that? We'll save these 2 for the next turn. So we're going to play these 2, and it looks like either way we do it, we're going to go first, so it doesn't really matter. We'll just make our initiative 15. Let's see what they are. Plus, so that puts them down at initiative 70. And they're going to do a move 2 and attack 2. But they won't be able to get to us. Because we are going to attack 3 at range 3. So we'll attack the blue one again at range 3. Let's see what our modifier is. Ooh, it's a minus. It's -1, so it's only attack 2. They have 1 shield, so again, they only take 1 damage, unfortunately. Move this down. And now we can do our move 4. So we want to get where we're at least 4 spaces away from them so they can't reach us. But we don't want to get so far away because they're going to move 2 back toward us, and then we want to be able to move closer to them next turn. So we're probably going to use this for a move 2 and then attack 4 on our next turn. So we want to make sure that after they move 2 that we can get back to them in 2. So let's go 1, 2. I think here's a good spot. Here or here, I guess. Yeah, let's go there. All right. And then they're going to do, and then, so these are both played, so they flip to their B side and come back to our hand. And now it's their turn. So starting with number 1, which is the blue one, they're going to move 2 to try to get closer to us. So they're just going to go up to here. Now the enemies can move through each other, but obviously they can't end on top of themselves. So that's the best he can do. And then this one's going to go 1, 2 to there. And that's it for them. So on to the next round. So we've got, I forgot we were going to have these 2 back as well on their B sides. We got a few more options available to us. Move 3 and add 1 to all your attacks this round. Last till the end of the round. That would be a good one to use, I think. We can't get into a position where we'd be adjacent to both of them. Otherwise, that might be nice because it would muddle them. Oh, you know what? I just realized something that I messed up from the first turn. I was supposed to, when we played this card, I was supposed to strengthen myself. So actually that last attack I just did on the previous round, because that strengthen then lasts until the end of your next turn. So on turn 2, when I attacked the blue one with my spare dagger, I forgot that I was strengthened. And what strengthen does for you is it gives you advantage on all attacks. And what advantage is when you roll for your modifier, you get to roll twice and take the better of the two results. So we rolled a minus initially, which gave us a -1 to our attack. But let's roll this again and see if we actually get a better result. And we got a 0. Okay. So it was actually a +0 attack. So they would have taken an additional damage. So they're actually down to 4 health. And then at the end of my last turn, then this would have gone away. All right, glad I caught that. All right, so now let's decide. We got all of our cards on our B side now. So let's see what we want to do this time. So as I was saying, we can't get next to both of them, which is really when that would be the best time to use it, because that muddles them, which when you're muddled, it's the opposite of strengthen. That's what made me think of that. When you're muddled, you have to roll twice and then use the worse result. Again, we don't want to use that. See, I think we do this, move 3 and add +1 to all our attacks. Hopefully we might be able to kill that bandit. And then we could use our 4 attack. Unfortunately, they're not lined up to be able to use this attack. So the way these area attacks work is the gray box, or the gray hex, represents your hero's location. And then these red hexes indicate the enemies that you can target with this attack. It's a single attack, but it can attack up to 2 different enemies if you line it up right. So for example, in this case, we would need this green one to be here, and then we could move up into that space and then attack both of them with the skewer ability. And if we had wind available, we could actually add 1 to it and pierce 2, which would be really nice. All right, but instead we're going to do overwhelming assault and unstoppable charge. Now, unfortunately, both of these are pretty slow, so there's a good chance that they're going to go before us, but that's okay. We'll try to make it possible, at least, that we go before them, so we'll go at 61. That way, if they get 70, we'll go first. Otherwise, they'll be going first. Let's see what their initiative is and their abilities. Whoops. Rolled it off, but it is a plus. So, yes, they are at 70, so we do get to go first. All right, so we're going to move 3 and then add 1 to all of our attacks this round. So we really only need to move 1. We just will go there. And then because this has this symbol on it, this goes in your active slot then. So it gets put up here. Shift this stuff up a little bit. And so then that's active until the end of the round. That's what that symbol there means with the little circle. All right. And then we're going to do our attack 4, but it's actually an attack 5. And then we'll roll our modifier. And then we got to be careful. This time we could whiff. If we get the minus, we get the null result, which means we do no damage at all, which would be really bad on this big attack that we're doing. So attack for 5 and plus. So it's +1. So it's actually an attack 6. They have 1 shield, so they take 5 damage, and that will kill the blue bandit, enemy number 2. So we'll take him off the board and take his dial and set it aside. So we just have the 1 bandit left to kill, and we will win this scenario. All right, so this, because it was on a B side, it now gets flipped back to A side, but then goes into our discard pile. And then this one will go into our discard pile at the end of the round. So then they will go, and they have their move to attack 2 action again. So the shortest path, 1, 2, 3 to get to me there. Avoiding obstacles, 1, 2, 3. So either way is the same. So we have our choice of which way we want them to go. We're going to have them come around this way, because then when we get that card back that lets us push them, we can push them into that trap. So they will move, but they're only moving 2. So they actually only get to there. Yeah. All right. So next turn, we'll probably want them to go first so that they move up next to us. And then we can smack them. And then the following turn, when we rest and get our cards back, or maybe the turn after, depending on whether we short rest or long rest, we'll be able to push them into that trap. All right, so that ends this round. So this card will flip back to A side and get discarded. I forgot to move this up for my attack. Let's do that now. And I think that is all. They didn't get to do an attack on us, so they've still only made the 1 attack against us, which is good. All right, so let's start the next round. So we have these 2 cards left. We don't really need to heal 2. So I'm thinking, and we probably won't need to move. I guess, well, problem is we got 18 and 35. So more than likely we're going to go first. So I guess, oh, that's all right, because with our push 2, we could end up pushing them into that trap as well from where they're at. So we're good. We're good. So I think we'll play this. And then we'll do the skewer on them. We don't have wind to consume, so we won't be able to boost it at all. But at least it's a 3 attack versus the 2 for the default action. And it's not a burn card. We don't lose it when we use that action. So, yep, we'll do that. And I guess we might as well make sure that we go first. So we'll put 18 as our initiative. Let's see what they are. Oop, rolled off the camera again, but they got a plus. So they're at 70 again. I need to get like a little tiny dice tray that I can roll these in. Or maybe a cup. I could use a dice cup and just pick it up. I think we'll do that. All right, so we are first. And again, we're going to use this just as a move 2. So we'll move up to here. And then we will play our skewer, which is 3 attack. And could target another enemy if there was an enemy where that obstacle is. But there's not. So it's just a 3 attack against the 1 enemy. Looks like our options are +1, 0, or -1. So let's see what we get. Minus. So it's only attack 2. They have 1 shield, so they only take 1 damage. All right, since these are both B cards, they'll flip back over to A and get discarded. We are now out of cards, so we will have to rest on the next round. So then it's their turn. Move 2, but then since they're already adjacent to us, they will not move. And then they do an attack 2. And, they could potentially get a +2 on this. And they do. So it's attack 2 +2, so 4. We have no shields, so we take all 4 of that. Puts us down to 7. So we're going to flip over to the other side and go down to 7. Now we could use that heal too. All right. Oh, and then they did an attack, so this moves down. So next time they attack, they have a chance of getting the null. And that will be it for the round. So now, for this round, we have to decide if we want to either short rest or long rest. Because if you don't have 2 cards to play, so if you're down to either 1 card or 0 cards, you must rest. You can choose to rest before that if you wish, but then it's you're basically making inefficient use of your cards if you do that. Let me find. I'm looking for the section on resting here. Resting. Here we go. So as I said, 2 ways to rest: short rest and long rest. They allow you to retrieve cards from your discard pile at the cost of losing 1 card. And since these are double-sided, effectively you're losing 2 cards. You can rest only if you have at least 2 cards in your hand and or discard pile. So if you're down to less than 2 cards between the two, then you're kind of out of luck. So short for rest, what you do is you return all cards from your discard pile to your hand and flip them to their A side. And then you lose 1 of them at random. And then if you don't like the card that was randomly chosen for you to lose, you can suffer 1 damage to lose a different random card instead. But you can only do that once. If you long rest, the other thing with the short rest is you still get to then take your turn that round. If you long rest, by contrast, instead of choosing 2 cards for the round, you can declare a long rest. So I guess technically you take the short rest at the end of a round. So at the end of that last round, if I wanted to short rest, I would do it then. But I think I'm going to go ahead and long rest, and I'll show you why. So if you long rest, instead of choosing 2 cards for the round, so that means we're not going to get to do anything this round, you'll take your turn at initiative 99 and follow these steps. Return all cards from your discard pile to your hand, then lose 1 card of your choice from your hand. So we get to pick which one we lose. Also, you perform a heal to self. And if we had any items, we would be able to recover them. So if you have like items that are like you have to exhaust them when you use them, you get to refresh those when you long rest. So that'll come into play in future scenarios. All right, so we're long resting, so that means we're going to go at initiative 99, which basically guarantees that we'll be last in the initiative. And we'll see what the bandit guard is going to do. 0. So he's going to be initiative 50. He does a move 1 and attack 2. All right, so again, he's already adjacent to us, so he isn't going to move. For his attack modifier, he rolled a plus. Yikes. So +1. So that's going to be an attack 3. So we're down to 4 health. All right, so now it's our turn. So we recover all of our cards into our hand, and then we have to choose one to lose. So I think we definitely want to keep warding strength because we want to use that to push them down into that trap. So we're definitely keeping that one. We definitely want to keep the one, our overwhelming assault that does 6 damage because we want to use that to get. In fact, what we'll probably do on our next turn, since we're already adjacent, is we can pair up this with this since we don't have to move. So we can hopefully do a lot of damage to them. Just between those two, doing these 2 attacks plus pushing them into the trap, that might be enough to kill them. So we're going to lose one of these, it looks like. And I'm thinking we don't really need to. The heal we might want to hang on to just in case. So I say we lose Shield Bash and Skewer. So this will go into our lost pile. We now no longer have access to that for the remainder of the scenario. And this is what we have to choose from for next turn. But then also, because we long rested, we get to, heal 2. A little bit of a scuff there. I need to mark that. Get a marker and kind of fill that in there. Some here too. All right. That will be it for that round. They did do an attack, so this needs to move down. It's one of the things you got to really stay on top of in this game. Moving that every time someone makes an attack. All right, so let's go ahead and execute our plan with Spare Dagger and Warding Strength. And if we do 27, we are guaranteed to go first. So we're going to do that. Let's see what they are. They got the 0, so they're going to go at 50. Move 1, attack 2. Well, that's good. They won't be able to make it back to us then. All right, so we are going to do Spare Dagger first. So it's an attack 2 with Pierce 1. So we're going to get to ignore their shield. That's what Pierce does for you. Pierce X, reduce target's shield by X. So they currently have 1 shield. The Pierce 1 puts them down to 0 shield. And then we're doing an attack 2 with our modifier, a minus. So it's a -1. So it's only attack 1. But fortunately, we pierced through their shield, so they do take 1 damage. And then we will do our Warding Strength. So attack 3, push 2, and then strengthen self. Let's not forget that this time. Oh, and we did an attack, so this needs to move down. Okay, here we go. So now we have the chance of getting 2x for our modifier, which would be sweet, because then we'd be attacking for 6. Which 5 would get through, and then when we push them into the trap, that would kill them. So if we can get the 2x, we can kill them right here. Nope. All right, so plus 0. So it's an attack 3 minus their 1 shield, so they take 2 more damage. And then we push them 2 into that trap, which does 1 more damage. So they're down to 3. We're at 6. I think we're in pretty good shape here. And so this moves down because we did an attack. And then we strengthen self. All right. These go to their B side and come back to our hand. And then they will go, but they're only doing a move 1, attack 2. So all they can do is move to there. And then we are set up nicely to finish them off here because we can't get a null. And even if we get the -2, our overwhelming assault is going to be enough to finish them off. So we want to do, our initiatives are kind of lousy though. I guess we'll do, we might as well do this, I guess. 61. Yeah, so only, well, no matter how we do it, the only way we're going first is if they roll plus. So I'm thinking we do this one. I mean, it doesn't matter because they're not going to get another turn, but just to show off the muddle, I guess. So we'll do the unstoppable charge. We'll use the bottom half of that, and then the leaping cleave. Not leaping cleave. The overwhelming assault, we'll use the top half of that. And then this symbol shows that once you use this ability, this card gets lost. But since we're going to use it to kill them and finish the scenario, it doesn't really matter. Now, if you choose to use the default action of this top half to just do a 2 attack, then you do not have to lose the card. That's only if you use the main ability for that half. All right, so we'll go 61, I guess. So there's a chance we might go first. And let's see what their initiative is. Nope, they're going at 30. The good thing is they're only attacking for 1. The bad thing is they get an extra shield, but I don't think it's going to matter. So they will go first. They'll move here to be adjacent to us. They will attack us. I think, did I move that down the last time they attacked? Let's see, how many times have they attacked us? Yeah, they didn't get to attack us last turn, so I'm pretty sure I did. They only done 3 attacks on us. I know they hit us the first time, they took us down to 11. Then they hit us the second time, took us down to 7. And then they hit us a third time that took us down to 4. And then we healed back up 2. So yeah, they've only attacked us 3 times. So that's right. Let's see what they do this time. They get the plus, so it's a +1. So they do attack 2. So we go down to 4. And then we will, and then this moves down. So if they survive, they'd have a chance to get a double attack next round. I don't think they will. So we're going to go now. We do move 3. We don't need to move, so we'll just muddle all adjacent enemies. So these guys get muddled. That means if they were to attack us again, they would have to roll twice and use the worse result. Now we're strengthened, so we get to roll twice and use the better result. So we're either going to get a +1, +0, or -2. Let's see what we get. A 0 and a 0. So it's a 6 attack. They have 2 shields. 4 damage gets through. That's enough to kill them. Scenario completed successfully. All right, so now we can flip the card back over, read the results of the scenario. Well, your gear certainly isn't shiny anymore, and it wasn't even particularly fancy to begin with, come to think of it. Got the job done at least, but your situation is quite dire. You'll need to survive long enough to find out how to restore yourself to original size. But for now, you'll need to deal with the vermling that just appeared. Read the Collector. So, next card off of the scenario deck is the Collector. This vermling dude. The Collector. Took out the scavengers, I see, the vermling offers. You're not the first to barge in on hail and get this less than ideal result. We've all been there. Some of us have realized the need to work together if we are to make the best of this. I assume you'd like to be big again? You nod. Then I have a proposal for you. During my time here, I have collected things that may be useful. You may borrow them, and in exchange, I will accompany you so I may expand my collection. I can also tell you that your best hope for escape is getting into the Crooked Bone and taking the issue up with Hale. Unfortunately, you look behind you to see the door now firmly closed. Yeah, the only way in is through Button's kingdom, across the road. Come on. You can now equip items during scenario setup. Play scenario 2, crossing the road. So I'll explain how the items work here. So each card that you either read or successfully complete becomes 2 items that you can potentially use. So you can only ever use one or the other on a particular card. So like this one, we can either use the Shrunken Weathered Boots, which let us add +1 movement during our movement. This symbol means that it gets exhausted and then will get refreshed when you long rest. The other choice on this one is Old Spring. During your turn, add jump to all your movement. And again, it can be refreshed when you long rest. We also have either a Rose Thorn Knife during your attack. You can expend, I believe that means either or, Frost or Earth, or Ice or Earth, to add +1 Pierce. So that's pretty nice, especially if we're dealing with those bandit guards that have shield. The other option for this card is Venomous Fang. During your melee attack, add poison. And again, both of these, well, this one is just an ongoing effect. So you always have the option to consume one of those elements to add pierce. This one is a use it, and then it gets refreshed when you long rest. Poison is nice because when you put poison on an enemy, all attackers gain +1 attack. So once you poison them, every time you attack them subsequent to that, you're going to get +1 attack. It does get removed if they have a way to heal themselves, but it prevents them from actually healing when they do. So all the heal does is just remove the poison. So that's an option. And then we have the Bottle Cap Helm. During an enemy's attack, treat its plus attack modifier as a 0 attack modifier. So that's nice. Especially if they end up getting a 2x, you can Say, nope, it's a +0. And then we've got the Sparrow Skull Helm. During your attack, gain advantage. And you saw how advantage works, so that could be very useful as well. So the way the items work is they're all either a hand item. Some of them will have a picture of 2 hands. So you can have up to 2 hand items equipped or 1 double hand item. And then you can have these pouches. You can have a number of them equal to half your level rounded up. So when you're level 1 or you're level 2, you can only have 1 of these. Once you get to level 2, you can have 2, or 3, sorry, you can have 2. Level 4, you could also have 2. And then when you get to level 5, you could have 3 pouch items, plus your 2 hand items. So when we play the next scenario, we'll get to choose one of these. And then out of these 4, we could choose one of those. But that will be for next time. That's going to do it for this episode. We successfully completed the first scenario, a rude welcome. So when we come back, we will play through scenario 2, which is Crossing the Road, also a level 1 scenario. So thank you all for watching. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe for more Gloomhaven Buttons and Bugs content, as well as other games that we play on the channel here. Silent War, Lord of the Rings is a card game, and hopefully in the future, some other games as well. So until next time, we'll see you.